TV sets. We just adjusted our chairs.
Can you zoom in just a smidge? This is Waiting for Death with Joe Camerota. My guest tonight is Isaiah Mueller, and he is the man. I love him. He's a comedian.
Thank you.
And these are the 7 great questions. We're going to dive right in, if that's okay with you, Isaiah.
7's a very spiritual number.
And that's why I picked it.
So, yeah.
That's why I picked it.
I'm vibing.
Yeah, for sure. Isaiah is a spiritualist.
I am. I do dabble. I think of like the 7, like the tarot cards that are like like you got the 7 of wands, you got the 7 of discs, you got there's 7s, and you got the 7 of cups, just like in the tarot deck. Like 7 is like very.
Yeah, no, I yeah, of course, even in religion in general, you have the 7 days of the week. You have like 7 is for sure.
The Lord made the world in 7 days.
So
right?
7 is for sure just a sacred number. Very spiritual. But I mean, every number is right.
Sure,
like,
every number
has
like a correspondence with spirituality.
But definitely 7 is a
like,
blessed number. Yeah, it's definitely a pinnacle number of sorts. Which is very interesting for sure.
It's fascinating.
Right.
I'm fascinated.
Yeah, and so let's dive right
the 7 deadly sins.
7 deadly sins.
7 deadly questions.
Which also I believe there are 7 beatitudes that correspond to the 7 deadly sins.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, 7 beatitudes. That's actually an interesting thing. They are direct opposites of the 7 deadly sins. The 7 beatitudes. Yeah, that's why they exist. Yeah, it's interesting, right?
Hey, man, this world is full of surprises.
Right. That's the idea is that you can figure out the virtues by figuring out
the
vices.
We're drinking what? Whiskey neat?
Old fashions.
An old fashioned, right.
Yeah, and I'm into old fashions lately. That's my.
You're
thing.
an old fashioned kind of guy.
I kind of am, man. I really am. I try to be, man. I try to be ahead of my time. That's the whole thing.
Hopefully,
my next stage is old age, and so I'm just trying to get there. It's
old crone.
Yes, I'm trying to get there early.
Yeah, just put like a little shawl on.
Yeah, dude. Cane. Yeah, that hermit life. That's for me.
Just wave that cane at people.
That's for me, man.
Wherever you go.
Hermit life.
I wonder if the sound of the ice clinkling on the cameras that was a plastic up. It's good. This is a nice sound.
Yeah.
I love this sound.
Yeah, it's very ASMR, right?
ASMR.
So, question number 1. Do you believe in God? Do you believe in
God?
God?
Great question for question number 1.
Do you believe in God? If yes, what is that? If no, what is that?
Well, I do. Well, here's the good news, Joe.
Yeah.
Is that our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, sacrificed himself on the cross.
Maybe.
And relinquished all of our sin, Joe. Did you know that?
Is this a thing? I don't know.
No, okay, so to answer your question, yes, I do believe in God, and what that means to me is basically love, and love kind of binds the entire universe together because there's a consciousness of the universe, Joe, because we're all God's dream, really, because we're all fractions of God. And God is consciousness, and so
I go with that.
And so we're all God, and we're all Christ, which is why Christ was so fascinating, because Christ, like as like a mythology or like a person, whoever you want to describe it, Christ was like a hippie, he was the original anarchist. And so he was basically saying that, the kingdom of heaven is within you. And what that means is that Christ is really a level of consciousness that we can all rise to, and that's the consciousness of unconditional love and being like seeped into the present moment, and just being like really like in the vibe. That's what Christ was all about. He even has a great line, because I'm not like a religious person, but I've studied like occultism and like the Bible and stuff. But Christ has a really cool line in the Bible where people come to him and they're like, Christ, like, how do we worship you? How do we how do we follow the word of God? How do we do it?
Yeah.
And Christ is like, throw all that shit away. Have some wine. I have cake. And so he basically just gave people wine and cake, and they had a fucking party. And that's what God is.
That live in the moment.
Yeah.
Heaven here on earth.
Yeah.
I believe that, man. I believe
it's within.
I believe we have an obligation to make heaven here on earth, man. I truly do.
We do. And it starts here, Joe.
No, it
So
does.
take
Starts
your
with love.
fucking dick out.
Well, not that type of love between us.
But yeah, no. I always love the mythology of Christ, and just God isn't married to that idea, but I do love the idea that there's these ascended masters like the Buddha, like Christ, like Muhammad, that like teaches people how to like live within the present moment, because the present moment is God. This is God. This is it.
Yeah, I'm with that. I think God is everything all at once.
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Yeah,
That's
in that movie.
what the movie was about.
Yeah, is it about that?
Kinda.
Okay, fair enough. Kind of makes sense, right? Yeah. When I heard that, I was like, yeah, it's, how we would describe God as everything all at once.
Everything, everywhere, all at once. That's not the philosophy of everything, everywhere, all at once, but the movie Everything, Everywhere, All at Once is God.
It's a part of the whole. So,
yeah, it's part of the whole.
It's part of the whole, so it's a fraction of God.
Everything counts. Everything. Yeah. There is nothing. Nothing's out. Everything is everything.
Yeah.
And that's God.
Yeah, it's very interesting, though. It does leave a lot of questions, man, because you wonder if evil is God and stuff like that.
It is.
That's where it gets weird.
There was a great, that's where because the universe, that's how the universe operates. It's like a paradox.
You know what I often think about? I think about sometimes, hear me out on this one.
Okay,
this is a paradox I think about.
I can't get away from the noise. I have the headphones on.
And hear me out on this. The question is, does God understand Satan? And here's the question. If God understands Satan, when you think about it, if he understands Satan, then Satan's a part of him.
Yes.
If he understands Satan.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't understand Satan, here's where it gets even creepier. Let's say he doesn't understand Satan, then he's not omniscient.
Right.
Isn't that weird? So if he doesn't understand Satan, he's not omniscient. But if he does understand Satan, then it's a part of creation.
Yeah.
So it's a part of God.
Right.
That's weird, right? If God understands Satan, then Satan is a part of, then he understands it. So that means Satan's a part of the understanding, which means Satan's a part of creation then.
Right.
Because God, at the most basic, is how God understands things.
Right.
And or non-things or whatever. But if God understands Satan, then Satan's a part of the whole. And if God doesn't understand Satan, if God says, hey, I can't relate to that, I can't understand that.
Who is this guy?
I can't understand why somebody would reject my love. If God can't understand that, then he's not omniscient.
Right.
Isn't that weird?
Well, I think that's okay. So that's a really cool idea, especially like in See, that's why Judeo-Christian Christianity fucks everything up.
Yeah, no,
because it's all like it's God or it's Satan, but everything is God. Even like the suffering is a part of God. Like Judeo-Christianism, Christianity puts like this mask on evil or like the negative things in life, and it's like, oh, it's this guy with pointy horns that's like doing it all. But really, God is just experience. So like when you move out of duality, you move beyond duality, you realize that suffering and joy is all God. It's all pain and love happening at the same time. Because this universe is like a simulation. So the way to play the game is that you have to have these sort of like these very polar opposites so that you can transcend the polar opposites and realize that everything is one. That's like what it's.
Yeah, and there's
at least from what I read, and
there's a lot of harshness to swallow on that mentally.
Yeah, well, there's this great quote that was like
that everything, I guess, in a weird way is the story that God wants towards the greatness of the greatness of the story, which is a weird thing to say, right? It's a weird thing to say, like the story is a sum bonum of it all, and the story includes evil. That's a weird thing to say, right? Like a good story includes a bad guy. That's a fucked up thing to say.
But you need the bad guy.
But when you do philosophically look at like, hey, what would a beautiful story include? And you start to tell a beautiful story, you're going to then mentally create a bad guy.
Oh yeah, of
course.
That's
wild.
Yeah. Well, you're the hero of your own story. So everyone's like the hero of their own story. So like you have to have like the adversity, you have to have the suffering and everything. And that what it's really about, from like what I like am into and like what I've studied, is like it's like your soul is infinite. Like you've taken billions of incarnations on this planet, other planets, other universes, other galaxies or whatever. And so your soul is basically trying to level up. So it's like trying to go like, it's trying to have all the experiences. So when you can have all these experiences, the pain and the suffering and all of it together, that's wisdom for your soul, That's like there's this really cool quote that's like I forget who was talking about it, but it's like a poem, and it's a poem about God. And it was like the poem's like, I am God. I am the mother giving birth to the child. I am that beauty. I am also, to summarize it, it's a long poem, goes on and on. But it goes, I'm the mother giving birth to the child. I'm the father coddling the child. I'm also the refugee orphan on a boat. I'm also the pirate that raped the refugee orphan on the boat.
Oh, Jesus.
I am everything.
Well,
that's what God is.
There's this.
I'm the pirate who sexually assaulted the person whose heart has not yet found love. It's basically saying I'm God. I'm everything. I'm the mother. I'm the father. I'm the child. I'm the rapist. I'm the murderer. I'm the warlord. I'm the Hitler. I'm everything. I'm Gandhi. I'm Jesus. I'm it all.
The Christ.
Yeah, I'm it all.
There's this book called Seth Speaks, which is have you ever heard of this?
Yeah, Seth. Yeah.
Yeah.
But people like channel Seth.
Yeah, and Seth basically says that people go through these many lives, kind of collecting wisdom along the way and lessons for their soul and for their being.
That's what it is, man. We're in a boot camp for the soul.
I'm a chill guy, so I like to think I'm an old soul.
Yeah, probably.
I like to think.
Yeah.
I hope so. But I've had an interesting life myself, so I will say even my own life I've had a lot of experiences. Right. So, there's a part of me that thinks it's just that.
Right. Well, I mean, that the idea of like the old soul, you probably are. I mean, our souls have taken numerous incarnations, on numerous planes of reality. It's just a matter of like remembering. It's like you remember.
Well, fair enough. That's interesting. I don't know the secret to the bridge to remembering the past lives.
I do, Joe, and I'll teach it to you for $59.99 a month. You can subscribe to my podcast where I teach you how to remember your past life incarnations.
Next question.
All right, I'm ready.
Do you believe in the devil? And if yes, what?
Oh, yeah. Well, the devil is very real.
Okay.
Well, the idea, I mean, you have like, okay, so dig it, right? Dig this.
Yeah.
So there's like all these like, God is everything, right? And that also applies on the spiritual level because we live in a spiritual universe.
Okay.
There's like the astral realm. There's the bardos. There's all these different realms of reality.
Okay.
So there's higher realms of reality and lower vibrational realms of reality.
Wow.
And, there's demons and angels and demigods and all of it. Everything you could possibly imagine exists within the universe. And every possible scenario that you could your little puny brain could ever conceive of, the universe, who's 1 trillion billion years old, unspeakably old, has already coughed it out.
So you guys believe there's conscious beings who delight in evil.
Yeah.
And they spend their existence inciting evil.
Yeah. Well, they're lower. There's different.
I think there's people who obviously subscribe to that,
Yeah.
People like Hitler and stuff. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
They subscribe to this gain through evil.
Yeah. And that's a very real thing, Ultimately, it's like peanuts. It's not like the real shit, if you really want to ascend in consciousness, it's about unconditional love and all that stuff. But if you wanted to go down the darkness, you could go down as far as you want. It's God all the way down. It's just you want to hang out with God in a toga, or you want to hang out with God with a leather jacket and who pitchforks people.
So
still
yeah,
God,
that's an interesting way to look at it. It's just
the negative stuff is a bummer. It's like, who wants to hang out there?
People who live in the negativity attract the negativity, even in the spiritual plane.
Yeah.
It's kind of what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of
and
like,
you can get in touch with these entities,
the
if you
good in the
practice.
spiritual plane doesn't fucks with you if you're bad in this plane.
Yeah, well, if you ever
And
practiced
versa,
astral projection, you could summon all sorts of things based on your vibrational energy. So if you're hanging out in the astral realm and you're like a jerk, and you're like, I want to get all the dark powers. I want to fucking, I'll pillage and kill whoever. Just show me the demons. They'll show up and be like, hey, here's what you got to do. But like if you're, you want to hang out with like loving beings and be like, hey, teach me about my ancestors. Your ancestors will show up and hang out with you.
Yeah, so I think you're saying, you're asking your subconscious, which is probably way smarter than your conscious mind. You're asking your subconscious if you're summoning the good, your subconscious will unlock the good, and if you're summoning the evil,
it's what your intention is, because intention is everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to have the right intention.
Your brain will solve the problem, and if you're trying to do good, your brain will solve the problem of trying to do good, and if you're trying to do evil, your brain will solve that problem.
Yeah, it'll just bring stuff towards you. It'll just
just attract things.
Attract things. Yeah,
it makes sense in that way, right? Mm-hmm. You ask your brain a subconscious question, your brain starts looking for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like if a guy is looking to cheat on his wife, he's gonna
find someone to cheat on.
If somebody's looking to cheat on their partner, they're gonna find it.
They're gonna find it
as opposed to not looking.
Yeah. If you're out looking for drugs, like you're gonna find it. Like if your intention is like, I gotta really find coke tonight, you'll find it. Like if you really want to.
Yeah.
It's the same thing on the astral realm. Like if you want to be like, hey, I want to meet some cool beings and learn some stuff about my past lives or my ancestors or about the universe, and you'll hang out with some cool guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense to me.
But also, because it's just weird when people like differentiate like Lucifer and the devil is kind of like two different like concepts. Like Lucifer is cool. You can summon Lucifer. He's a cool guy.
Okay. But so you fucks with Lucifer. You think he's misunderstood Lucifer. He, she.
Yeah, well, the whole concept, when I say the devil and I say like these archetypical concepts, it's not like I mean like the Judaic biblical sense. It's just negative entities and beings of positive vibrational energy.
So you think Lucifer is a positive vibrational?
Yeah. There's a whole like mythology of like what Lucifer actually is about enlightenment, and the serpent of the Bible of Adam and Eve is actually like a cool. He's you reverse the story and it's actually God is a negative character in that mythology, saying like you shouldn't know the difference between good and evil, and the snake is like, no, you should know the difference between good and evil. Eat this apple, and they figured it out, and then God was like, no, you're not my automatons anymore. Get out of here. And so they became self-conscious beings, and so Lucifer was the one who's like, hey, sometimes you got to break the rules a little bit. You got to fucking like.
I definitely am down with that. I'm down with that Prometheus story.
Yeah.
That Prometheus story.
Kind of thing.
I'm down with that. The one thing I will say that I do take away from religion is that Lucifer, as far as I understand, is kind of is like an angel of luxury, and Satan is like an angel of hierarchies. And so what's interesting is when you think about it, the devil tempts you with luxury and prestige.
Right.
That's how the devil gets at you. The devil goes,
that's
hey,
how he
do
gets
you
all
want
those Hollywood stars?
Do you want some prestige? Do you want some luxury? And
do you want an Oscar? Do you want to work with Edward James Olmos?
So, but here's the thing, and here's the tough part, and this is why the whole song "Sympathy for the Devil" is that is how we grow as a society. Is we grow by giving people awards, by giving people prestige. We grow as a society by giving people luxuries when they do well. But the idea is these things in their extreme become very, very, very evil in their extreme pursuits.
Right.
In the extreme pursuits of prestige and luxury. So it's this idea that the religions down prestige and luxury in the sense that they deny their leaders having prestige and luxury, theoretically.
Right.
In the sense that, like, for instance, like a lot of religious people will take vows of poverty. This is an idea.
Right.
You know what I mean? They'll do things to kind of, even if there is a prestigious hierarchy within religions, they'll do things to kind of try to mentally curb that for people in the sense of relocating them every couple of years so they have to rebuild and everything like that. So there's this idea on breaking the hierarchy. And what's interesting about that is God is, and this is, follow me on this, this is very interesting. God is chaos. And so when you think about this there's a lesson in the story of Michael the Archangel, who defeats Lucifer, defeats Satan. Mm-hmm. Okay, now he defeats Satan. And so Satan is the angel of hierarchies. And so Satan is this powerful angel. an angel just below God. And Michael is a low angel. He's a very low-level angel.
Right.
So it's a David and Goliath story. It's David beating Goliath. Michael beats Goliath. And Goliath's like, how did you do this? And Michael's like, I did it with the power of God. I'm a creature, you're a creature, you're a more powerful creature, but you're not more powerful than God. So even though I'm lower in the hierarchy than you, I can beat you by appealing to God. And if you don't bow down to God and I do, I will beat you. So it's an argument for chaos. It's an argument for the fact that even though you set up these hierarchies are a house of cards.
Right.
They're fake. Reality is chaos. The David will come along that will beat Goliath.
Right.
Chaos will win because that's chaos.
Right.
Chaos is David beating Goliath. That's something that order didn't think was going to happen.
Right. Yeah, you broke the script. Yeah, you flipped the script. I love that story. Yeah. I think that like that's even like more powerful. Like when you like, okay, say like he says, "Oh, I beat you because of God." Like, what if you swapped out the word God for love?
Yeah.
I beat you because.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, I'm belief in yourself because of that that love of like I love myself, and so the universe will prevail from me. So yeah, there is that sort of healthy love, that healthy.
Or it's like I'm not going to fight you, I'm going to love you, and that's the way to dispel darkness.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, yeah. I mean, I think love is a very powerful tool. I think sometimes. People can take advantage of a loving nature, I've learned.
Well, love isn't... People misconstrue love and thinking like, oh, it's like this passive thing. It's like, oh, you could do whatever you want. Oh, I love you. That's not what love is. Love is like, hey, I have compassion for you as a being, but if you step to me, try to hurt me or mine, I'm going to break your fucking neck. You know, it's not like a passive thing, like, oh, you know, like do whatever you want. It's, I'm going to stop you, but that doesn't mean I'm going to have hate in my heart for you. I'm not, in my heart, not going like, oh, this fucking piece of shit. It's like, oh no, oh, this poor little baby.
There's a healthy level of detachment to it.
It's detachment. It's detachment, but it's not getting drowned in the emotion of the thing. It's staying above the water and being like, oh, this is a poor sympathetic being. I'm not going to let it walk all over me, but I'm going to have compassion for it. I'm going to treat it like a crying baby, you know?
Yeah.
Like when like a baby's like wailing, you're not like, oh, this fucking, well, some people, I mean, I am somebody, but like you don't really feel hate in your heart for, you know, a baby. It's like, oh, like someone needs to calm it down. You know, that's like your adversaries. Like if you think about them like that, it's like, oh, you need to,
that's very true. And if you have peace in your heart and you realize that, hey, man, today is a treasure for today.
Sure.
There's enough detachment that you can have where you can feel
it's a loving
pity
detachment
on people that are going nuts because their overall story isn't working out the way they want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And they're just being crashed in the waves of like emotion. And like, that's the metaphor of Jesus walking on the water. You know, he's not affected by, you know, the crashing waves of reality. He floats above it because that's the level of consciousness you could achieve when you try to understand Christ consciousness.
That's great.
Yeah, it's like when he was like, I live in the world, but I don't live of the world. You know, that's what that means. It's like, I'm here, you know, I'm hanging out with you, but I'm not going to get washed in the, you know, waters of emotion, you know, hatred and all this stuff. I'm not going to play the game, but I'm going to be here and I'm going to love you because I understand this is a whole simulation and we're just playing.
That's perfectly said, man.
That's what it's all about.
I remember one day just really being in the moment and tasting coffee and realizing that, like, just like, man, like, I like coffee.
Yeah, yeah.
And just having this moment of just like,
and
you
all
know
your
what,
stresses
man?
go away. You're not thinking about, you're just here.
I'm here. I like coffee.
Yeah. And isn't this great coffee? Isn't this a wonderful day?
Yeah,
you know, the birds are chirping.
I just realized that I'll always be able to just kind of cling. As long as I have enough money for basic comforts, I'll be able to laugh.
Sure.
There's a reality.
And here's a powerful thing. Even when you don't have the money for basic comforts, can you still laugh? Right? Isn't that crazy?
It's tough.
I know. That's why it's not an easy game, you know? You have to be detached from the game enough to be like, oh, you know, it's like, it's called oh so. You know, it's like, oh, so I have $1 million in the bank. Oh, that's great. Oh, so. Oh, I have $0 in the bank. Oh, so. You know, it's like you're not, it's just like you're just allowing reality to be reality, you know. You're not like you're not tied to like the outcomes, which is hard to do. It's crazy hard to do.
Basic comforts. I mean, like,
of course.
Heat.
But that's
food.
why some gurus go into the mountains and they're just like, bare ass hanging out there in the wilderness, and they're just accepting the summer seasons and the winter seasons and everything in between,
Yeah.
No,
I guess.
Who wants to fucking do that?
I
don't.
I don't know if I could make peace with poverty, but I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. There are people who literally make peace with the idea of being like a bear.
Yeah. And make peace with being super crazy rich. Not one or the other isn't like bad. It just is.
Yeah, to float above it.
Yeah.
No matter what it is.
Because that's like having like an unbreakable, what do they call it? You have to have within your heart.
In a weird way, it kind of takes the same mental strength to rise above the being super. It takes the same mental activity to rise above being super rich as it is to rise above poverty. Mm-hmm. Poverty is probably actually easier to do it because you have to. You have to be like, well, I'm not going to kill myself, so I guess this isn't real.
Right.
And so, like, it breaks you. You know what I mean? Like, definitely.
And that's why they say there's
I'm not going to kill myself, so I guess this isn't real. Like this has to not be real because I reached the bottom, and everyone says you should kill yourself here, and I'm not going to. So it's just like, I'm just here now.
Right.
And the illusion does get broken easier at the bottom.
Yeah. Well, suffering is grace.
And I think that's why people willingly, you're right, suffering is grace. That's why people willingly take on these vows of poverty. They willingly go to the bottom because it forces them to just confront, I have nothing. I made that choice. Now I'm just here. What does that mean?
And guess what? Even when you have nothing, because like I feel like I've had moments in my life where like I've had like incredible tragedy happen, like the worst case scenario like ever could have happened. Yeah, thank you. And it's like you're on the floor of your apartment and you're like face down and you're just like, this is rock bottom. Like it can't get worse than this. And then you're like, this is okay too. Yeah. Some part of your brain in the back of your head, like underneath all the suffering and wailing and like, like hatred of like life, there's a shard in the back of your head that's like, well, this is just okay. Yeah. Like that's like called the Atman, it's like the watcher, no matter what, you're always kind of like watching yourself like 1,000 miles away from you, kind of like observing.
I do open those moments that it breaks people into greatness and it doesn't break people into just succumbing to just saying this is fine.
Right.
And because that's the thing too, where I think a lot of cultures get pushed into poverty. Mm-hmm. Because there's a little too much acceptance that happens through spirituality, oddly enough.
Sure, yeah, sometimes.
I mean... Through religions that say, no, you can withstand this suffering.
Right.
And then at a certain point, I should hope people say, hey, man, but I could also ask for something better for myself.
Of course,
and sometimes religions brainwash people where they don't ask for something better for themselves. And I think that's criminal because, once again, as I mentioned earlier, we got to make this world into a heaven if we can.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's so brilliant what you just said, because it's like, fuck like these religions are just like, you have to be destitute and you have to be like, to really find God. What these tools are for me is like an acceptance of like, okay, no matter what anybody does in reality, no matter what you do, you could be fucking Jeff Bezos, you're gonna suffer. You're like, this reality, it's just like there's no escaping it. Like, you're gonna live, you're gonna die, you're gonna cry, it's part of the game. And so when you get to those moments of like, oh, this is intense suffering, this is like this is the worst case scenario, these are tools to help you get out of those situations. Because once you can find your Atman and be like, oh, I'm okay in the worst scenario, then you can start to make it better. Then you're not like just watching the emotion, you're not just like, I give up.
Yeah, no, I guess sometimes people find an identity in the bottom. Mm-hmm. And that's that, I think, man.
I hate bottoms.
Is like
I'm just kidding. I don't hate bottoms. Thank you, bottoms of America.
You can talk about your suffering without celebrating it. And sometimes some people, they...
and not wallowing in it.
they take a little pride in their suffering a little too much.
Right.
And I look at that and I'm like, nah, man, I'm not gonna do that.
Sure.
I'm gonna ask for something better.
That's true.
Let's see what time.
Well, like question number 3.
15 minutes left.
Oh no. Okay. Well, I'll make these more concise.
No.
This is fun. I'm having a good time.
Question number 3.
Number 3.
What happens after you die?
Oh, I'll tell you exactly what happens, Joe Camerota. I'll tell you what happens. So when you die, when you leave your body, okay. So basically, it's like, okay, so like you died. Your consciousness is now outside of yourself. You're probably gonna freak out a little bit. You're probably gonna look back at your body and be like, "Holy shit, that's me dead." And then you're gonna have a choice to either like hang around in the material world and like, you know, be like a sad ghost and like wander around to all the places, you know, and all the people that you didn't get to say goodbye to and be like, oh no, isn't it so sad that I can see you and you can't see me? You could do that for like all eternity. Or you could like choose to move on to the next phase of reality. You could choose to reincarnate. You know, you could go to the astral plane and hang out with your ancestors and do that for, you know, an eternity. You could go to like another universe. Whatever your soul is like wants to experience. But you might not even know what your soul wants to experience.
Now, do you think is there like
because you're your soul's avatar right now.
Do you think is there a guide that gives you these choices, or do you just know these choices?
Guide?
Yeah.
I think some people say like you see like your family members, you know, you see like people who passed on, like your ancestors. They could be like, hey, what do you want to do? Like, hey.
So you're presented with these choices.
Yeah. I think you're presented with the choices.
And people say you can either wander around here.
You can do whatever you want.
As like a watcher, basically.
Yeah, that's what ghosts are. You know, they're watchers.
Or you can...
They're like the people in the circle jerk that just watch.
Or you can move on to
you can either come back, jump right back in, be like a baby, and be like in a whole new family. You could like incarnate in a completely different universe, you know?
Now,
can you just squid somewhere?
Can you just fly throughout the universe checking out stuff?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
But maybe why wouldn't that be heaven though? Exploring everything as it goes.
These are ideas of like heaven is like, it's not like, okay, again, the Christianity, like there's a lot of weird stuff in there. I don't think it's like, you know, and all the stuff that I talk about, I'm just talking about like my own experiences, like reading about the occultism, reading about astral projection, astral projecting myself, and like practicing with like lucid dreaming and like all this like spiritual mumbo jumbo. So like how I understand it, it's like it's not like heaven is like this end destination where this is just where people go forever, and you know, like your soul. There's a lot to do, you know? There's multiple levels of reality. And also judging by like how you lived your life. Like you'll have a life review also. Like this matters, you know, because this was your soul's classroom. Your soul is basically like going to school, and like unless you learn the shit that you were supposed to learn here, then you like are more likely to come back and like have to learn it again. Because your soul would want to learn it again. You know, like you personally might be like, why the fuck would I want to come back here? You know, this life was either great or it sucked. But like your soul might be like, hey man, I'm trying to rack up some fucking karma points so I could be like an angel or a demigod or whatever, you know, your soul wants to do.
Okay, so your soul in the in-between place will get more powerful if you go back and do more things.
Well, powerful is like a bad word for it, but more wise. It's all about accumulating wisdom.
Okay.
So you can be. That's like what like a Jesus.
Not
like
more powerful, more peaceful.
Yeah, more peaceful, more wise, more
good with yourself.
Yeah.
On the in between.
So like maybe like your soul might want to be like a Jesus in one incarnation. You might want to be like, hey, I want to rack up all this stuff so I can come back to earth and help. You know, I can be like a real Christ figure. I can be like a Buddha. You know, I could be like an enlightened person. You know, I could be like a Ram Dass or something. Maybe
that involves a lot of suffering.
Yeah, tons. Yeah, if you want to be a Christ, oh God, you got to get raped by reality. not that's a bad word for it. You got to, yeah, it takes suffering. There's a reason why they beat Jesus into it, you know. He was like a bloody pulp on the fucking cross. And he was like, why did I do this? You know, but it's about.
Now, you mentioned that you astral projected.
I have a couple times.
Can you go anywhere when you do that?
Yeah. You can do whatever you want.
You can go anywhere.
There's no, so this 3D.
Did you go like, where'd you go?
Well, I'm not like a great astral project. I'm not like a guru or anything. Like when I astral projected, okay, like check it. When I did it like a handful of times. When I first started doing it, I remember I was able to like I practiced and practiced and practiced, and like I was doing it right, and I was like raising out of my body. And I remember one time I turned around and I saw my body sleeping, and I freaked out. I was like, oh my God, this is scary. And then I woke up, you know? One time, I don't remember the process of me leaving my body. I just remember I was like conscious, and I remember like these things like very clearly. I was conscious, and I was kind of like hanging out in like this. It sounds so strange to people. It sounds weird, but I found myself in a desert. It was at night, and there was like this blue kind of like beam, and then there was this dude that was there, and his face had like a bunch of like weird like blue runes on it and stuff. You could see all sorts of crazy stuff. Astral projection isn't anything crazy. Like, we're supposed to do that. Like, the only reason we haven't been taught how to astral project is because we live in this matrix run by fucking maniacal people that don't want humanity to understand what we're truly capable of. You know, they want to keep us as like the slave race, just toiling away at bullshit, you know? And so they want to keep us like little baby infants in our little playpens. But really, we're supposed to be fucking climbing out of the playpen. We're supposed to be fucking developing as spiritual beings. So astral projection isn't anything crazy. Anybody can do it. Yeah. Sure. And you can learn how to do it. And yeah, you could do whatever you want. You could learn about, you know, you could go
I've heard
anywhere.
of it, and I saw that movie Soul and everything like that.
Soul was that's why I dug Soul. I was like, Pixar, like, and movies do this all the time. Movies are always, because some people who make movies, you know, this gets into a much larger area of discussion, but this stuff is known. You see, like, people who are like civilians, who are just like in like, you know, working these menial jobs, we're just like, we don't know shit. We are cradle to grave people. You know, the government's just like, get them out of a vagina, get them into a job, they're dead. You know, that's what they want for us. But really, you know, there's a lot of shit you can learn. We're not our bodies, Joe Camerota. We're far, far more.
Hold on, let's see where we're at.
Where are we?
Cool. We're
here.
back. So okay, I think we've kind of covered this somewhat, but have you ever experienced the miraculous or the supernatural?
Yes.
What is that?
I believe I have.
Okay. So you definitely talked about the astral projection already.
I think that's one. That would be what what it was. I mean, well,
anything else or?
I mean, yeah, I'll talk about it. I mean, it's weird. Okay, so the astral projection thing, yes, I would consider that my brush with the supernatural. Yeah, you have like, I've had times where like I've had the whole sleep paralysis thing. If you've ever had sleep paralysis, you never had that, where you woke up, you can't move, or you can't like do anything, but you're conscious.
I've heard of this. Yeah.
Okay, so
you've had that.
Yeah, well, that's a precursor to astral projection. Like, when people have that, that's what's happening there is they're in like this kind of like in between state where like their consciousness is kind of like floating like just above their body or whatever. That's like how they describe it in like Hinduism and shit like that. Yeah. So when you're in that state, you can experience a lot of like crazy shit. Like, you could see like entities. You know, there's like a lot of people describe these dark figures, these like hooded figures that like a lot of people describe them like who have astral projection experiences. And basically, what those guys are they're like spiritual gnats. You know, because like your soul is very bright. You know, as like a human being, like you're just like an effervescent entity. Yeah. Like the human soul is very beautiful. And so when you have like lower dimensional beings, they're called like these hungry ghosts. You know, they like want to like be around your light. So like that's what people describe in like all these spiritual occultism stuff. Like when you're, you know, you got your sleep paralysis going on, and like you got like these entities like hovering over you, like, oh, you know, you're like, oh my God, this is so scary, and you can't move. It's really terrifying because you can't move, and you're just laying in bed, and like you got like these hooded figures like standing over you, and you're like, I can't move.
You've seen this? Or?
Yeah, I've had it happen to me. I had it happen to me a lot when I was a kid, and so it can be really scary, but they're harmless. They're not like, it's not like anything that can harm you. So that would be one. Another one would be. And it's no secret that my brother died.
Your brother died.
Yeah, and my oldest brother, he died in 2019.
Sorry to hear that.
And thank you. And so after he passed away, there was just like a lot of things, like, there's a lot of like, and it ties back to like what I believe in and shit. Like, kind of like when you pass away, you could still like kind of like fuck around with the people like your loved one. Like if you want to like, if you want to like send little messages, like you can do that. So it's like there's always like these weird coincidences that happen after like, your loved one passes away or like your brother or somebody. Like you'll get little hints that's like just for you, and like and you could just brush it off and be like, hey, that was a weird coincidence that like after my brother died, he had this saying that he would always say. He's like, oh, legends never die. It's like he was like this big bravado kind of guy, so like he would joke around and be like, I'm a legend and legends never die. And so directly after he died, we were all watching the Green Bay Packers game because that was his favorite football team of all time, and they were playing the day after his wake. And so the whole family was watching this game, and on the screen they put that quote on of like heroes come and go, but people never, legends never die. And like that was like literally what was on his little card that you get at those wakes. You get those little cards of the person on there, and so that was the quote. And like the next day, that's the quote writ large for all of us to see. And so we were all texting each other like, did you fucking see that the little man? And everyone's like, yeah, Danny was fucking with it. It's like throwing out little, but it's like, what are the odds, that like why would that quote even, on there? It was because some coach died.
The next day,
yeah, some coach died, and they were like, that quote was for the coach that died. But it just happened to also be Danny's favorite quote. Yeah. So it's stuff like that. And I would see that quote all over the place. I would see it on shirts. I remember I sat down on the subway the day after he died, and somebody literally had that shirt sitting across from me. And I literally went up to them, and I was like, in like a crazy manic state. I was like, you understand why you're wearing that shirt? But yeah. So like, I believe that, like this whole thing is a simulation. It is a big game. When you get out of it, you're just like, oh, this is silly. Everybody else is so upset, but like, I'm fine. So I think they fuck with you. I think they send you little things. So that's what I would consider.
Yeah. Little winks that this
little winks. That's all a game. It's all just a fucking game. It's all silly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
But that's just me.
Cool. So that's your supernatural. Okay.
I think so. Yeah. The phantom of my brother.
Sort of these synchronistic experiences.
Yeah, it's very synchronistic. And there's like, there's a ton of stuff like that like, even like my mom, it was funny because she just told me a story about like how she was thinking about Danny, my brother. She was really bummed out. She was at the store. And as soon as she was thinking about that, she heard this old lady go, Danny, come back, Danny, come back. And there was like a little dog. It was some chick's dog. And she picks up the dog. She's like, Danny, why did you run off? And she was like, that's so weird. My son, is named Danny. And she told her, my son passed away and everything. And the lady happened to be like, maybe she was like a kooky spiritual person, but she was just like, oh, you'll see him again. And then she walked off. It's like, that's like a cute little message that like, that's like an example of something, that like tossed to you, Yeah.
I dig.
It's cute.
Yeah. Do you believe in love? And if yes, what is it?
No! I don't know. Yes, I do believe. I believe in love.
Right.
Like romantic love? Yeah, sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, I believe in all sorts of love. Yeah.
Right. I believe in love because I love stand-up.
Right. Yeah, I love being artistic. I love making movies. I love stand-up. I love performing. I think that's, I believe in that. I love my nieces and my nephew.
Yeah. I love performing.
So. Yeah. I believe that's real. That like that is real. I think you could find love with a significant other. Yeah. I haven't done it yet.
Haven't done this one.
We're wearing your headphones the whole time?
Yeah, not doing that, but it's fine.
Couldn't hear my sensual voice.
No, but it's probably fine, even though far away from me, and I'll probably.
That should be the name of a podcast. It's probably fine.
Is there anyone you hate? And you don't say the name of the person.
Joe Biden.
Obviously.
What?
But is there anyone you hate? And yeah, I guess do you experience hate? But not hate, like, do you hate a person? Because everyone experiences. everyone experiences dislike. Everyone experiences
Right. Yeah.
hate, you know what I mean?
Dislike that.
But is there like a person you hate?
You hate Joe Biden. I hate that fucking guy. I do. I really do.
Okay.
I really no. If there's anybody,
but I'm looking for something like, do you experience hate
personal
on
person?
on a personal level?
On a personal level,
do you experience hate?
It got real personal for me. Joe Biden. No, I don't think so. I do dislike people. I have people that like piss me off. I was like, that fucking asshole.
But you don't experience.
I don't think no. Like I would never experience like. I mean, I don't. I'm not like, oh, I hope something bad happens to that person because I hate them. I don't think I really experience that. I get over shit too easily.
Okay.
I'll like be mad. I'll be really mad, and then I'll just say to the person that I'm, why I'm mad about what I'm angry about, and then I'll kind of just like forget about it.
Okay.
Like the next week. But no, I don't like hold a grudge, except against Joe Biden.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I hate that fucking guy.
Let's see. Got it. So you don't feel that you experience like long-term hatred? Yeah.
No.
Fair enough. That's interesting.
No.
I do.
Yeah, that's it. Hey, that's everyone's. That's great. No, that I mean, I feel like we should like talk about like who we dislike. As far as like hate, I don't. I have people I strongly dislike, but I would never be
there
like,
are people that if I heard that they were suffering, I would be happy.
No, I can't. No, because then you're suffering.
Maybe.
Right. You're like, good. I hope they feel it. That's funny.
They're living rent free in my head.
In your head, and they're.
I hope they suffer for.
Right. In your head,
for living rent free in my head. I hope they suffer.
They're in like an X.
Yes. I hope everyone who lives rent free in my head.
Crosses.
I hope everyone I hate that lives rent free in my head suffers enormously for living rent free in my head. Right. Yes. For sure.
You got a landlord in there.
That's if I hate anything,
boss in there.
In my mind I'm like, that is the least I can do is wish bad.
The least I can do is hate them forever
because they're living rent free in my head.
You got to charge them some kind of pension.
Yeah. So the least I can do is be overjoyed if I found out news of their suffering. Yeah. Wow. They lived rent free in my head for 20 years. Right. I'm glad they're going through pain now. Right. For sure. Overjoyed.
Oh man.
My enemies. That's a thing. I take joy in the suffering of my enemies.
Hey, I mean that's
for sure. That is a pleasure in life for me. I treat my enemies poorly.
Right. Remind me never to be your enemy.
In the sense of sometimes the best thing I can do is even
it's like hope they slip on like a banana peel and
to
like
some degree
they fall down like an escalator. The best at the bottom of the escalator is like a vat of acid.
The best thing I can do sometimes is to ignore them to some degree, but I will tell you this. My aim is if you're my enemy, my aim is to treat you poorly. Right. It will be on the side of poorly.
If there's a wealth and a poor side, they right on there.
Yeah, you'll be on the side.
I get it. If I imagine in my mind just like Joe Biden on an upward escalator and he slips on a banana peel and he's just falling backwards for like all eternity, and like the escalator keeps going up and he keeps going like hey Jack, hey come on man, oh God, just take the vaccine, he's just like snapping every bone in his body, and then he gets to the
you're
bottom.
Happy in
I would be very happy. I would be very happy. Yeah.
Well, that's reasonable.
That would make me happy. The only thing and then like Nancy Pelosi comes over and she's like drinking and she's like, and then she slips on Joe Biden's blood and then she like cracks her skull open.
That's best case scenario.
That would be the best case scenario. And then Kamala Harris comes over to Nancy Pelosi's twitching body because her skull got fractured on like a linoleum floor. And she's like, oh, I'm finally president. And then she slips on the blood and then she goes down. And that would be funny for me. Okay. That would make me very happy. Can we make that happen, somebody?
Now the final question.
All right.
This is the final question. And this is the most important question. This is kind of the question that it all leads to. The whole point of the show.
Oh, boy.
What is enough for you?
Oh, God.
What would be enough?
Nothing. That's a good question.
What would be enough?
Oh.
What would you go, oh, hey, man, it's enough. I'm good. I'm good. I can hang up my hat.
I don't know. If I was just in a big room full of Pez, just a big room full of nothing but Pez.
Okay, fair
I
enough.
love Pez.
Okay.
I'd be like, this is fucking enough.
You'd be like, you know what, man? No need to fight Joe Biden
Career,
anymore.
Joe Biden. It just
that doesn't matter.
If I was in a room filled with Pez,
that might, yeah.
Everything would slip away. Everything would change.
Okay.
Everything. Once I opened that door, I would be a different person. I would walk into a room full of Pez, and I'd be like, "There's blue Pez. There's purple Pez. Purple Pez. There's pink Pez." I'd be like, "This fucking rules, dude."
Right.
That would be enough for me. That would be just,
perfect.
Yeah.
All right.
And also, if my great unrequited love, Oliver, ever requited my love, that would be also enough for me. If I succeeded enough in my career, I was,
There's a guy named Oliver there.
Let's not talk about it. It was an unrequited love. Have you ever had an unrequited love?
Yes. Yeah. My last girlfriend dumped me like 2 years ago.
No. That's not unrequited love.
Oh, okay.
Unrequited love is I love this person, but they would never, ever feel the same way about me.
Oh, God.
So it's being on the other side of the glass with your hand pressed up against the glass, watching them with somebody else, and you're just like, but wait.
There's one person that,
and then they look at you and they're just like, ugh.
I kind of have
that's
that.
unrequited
There's one
love.
person that I kind of had that with. There was this lady who she would hook up with me, but she wouldn't like make it official. And so there was that. And but then in the end, I was glad that she didn't.
Right.
And so it kind of all.
In the end, I'm not glad. In the end, I'm just sad.
Okay.
No, I'm glad.
Fair enough. So
Pez, yeah.
Okay.
A room full of Pez would be enough.
Well, everyone, this has been Waiting for Death with Joe Camerota.
I'm still waiting.
Yeah.
Somebody call my number.
And Isaiah Mueller, everybody. Peace.
Bye, everybody. Oh, follow Isaiah Mueller on Instagram, IJ_Mueller.
Yes, on all the follows. Peace.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
Yeah.